breaker, a ravening beast of wind and water and fury. It drove up from the south in a black wall and smashed into the side of the ship, one gigantic wave lifting and canting our vessel, the Tirada, far over on the starboard beam. The rain lashed the ship in freezing torrents, hard as hail, filling the air completely with moisture so that it became almost impossible to breathe. I seized hold of a backstay with both hands as the deck beneath my feet surged upwards. Nevertheless, choking, spluttering in the suddenly blinding wet, I struggled to keep my feet on the slippery planks beneath me. The kindly sunlight of a Mediterranean mid-afternoon was immediately extinguished as the ship was thrust into this roaring waterfall. The wind howled about me. The ship plunged and slewed a quarter turn, hurling my body in a short arc to crash into the ship's rail. Had I not been gripping onto the rope, I'd have been swept to my doom. One poor fellow, our company's only priest, who had been standing unwarily by the starboard rail, was indeed snatched up and hurled overboard, immediately lost to the ocean. I caught one glimpse of Father Simon's white, terrified face and wide, silently screaming mouth before he disappeared forever, and my first thought was, "This is Robin's fault. He is entirely to blame." After that, I had no time for musing, nor for more than a passing sorrow at the priest's fate. I was clinging for my life to the taut rope as the ship danced beneath me, soaring as a wave bore it upwards, dropping like a stone as the seas hollowed out a space below its timbers, and smashing into the water. A green wave crashed across the deck, slapping the breath from my lungs, wrenching the backstay from my grip. I dropped and slid, panicking like a child, bashing once more into the rail, but by God's grace and my own desperate lunge, finding a hold, hugging the hard wood into my armpit. Another wave smashed into me, and its horrible power sucked at my body, but I gripped harder, squashing my body into the corner between deck and rail until the wave's grip slackened, released me, and the ship righted herself. When able to look up again, I saw a dozen men on deck in similar poses to mine, huddled, soaked, clinging on for dear life. But surely there had been at least twice that number on the deck when the storm had struck. How many were lost, I thought. And then again, this is all Robin's fault. A spike of white lightning split the black sky, and a vast groan of thunder followed immediately like the grinding of two mountains. The iron cascade of rain battered my head without mercy. I lifted my eyes to the aft castle, the raised fighting platform at the rear of the Tirada, which housed the massively thick steering oar, and saw Robin Odo, Earl of Locksley, lord of this company, owner of the vessel, and indirect author of this watery madness. He and the ship's captain were wrapped like drenched monkeys around the steering oar, or the tiller, as I had also heard it called, struggling to keep their course as the ship was madly buffeted about by the storm. Yet I could also see that despite the bellowing of the tempest and the desperate prancing of the ship, Robin and the captain, a stocky, piratical type called Aziz, were arguing furiously about something. I could see mouths opening and closing, exaggerated facial expressions of mutual disagreement. Captain Aziz was occasionally gesturing quickly with one hand towards the north, when he could afford to release the long wooden tiller for an instant. It was quite obvious that Robin did not at all agree with him. But after a few moments of screaming back and forth, the meaning of their words stripped away by the wind before they reached me, I could see that Aziz had won the dispute. Robin nodded reluctantly, and I saw them lunge together, their weights combined, and heave the tiller over to the right. There was a squealing of whistles, just audible over the howl of wind, and a stamping of bare feet on the rain-slick deck as the crew ran to their stations. I watched with humble awe as the nimble sailors scrambled up the various rope spiderworks that held the three masts and their yards in place, quite contemptuous of the whip and fury of the weather. They loosed this sail